Welcome back to Civil Discourse Now. We are here discussing issues with City County Council member Angel Rivera, who's running for re-election. This is being brought to you from Big Hat Books in Broad Ripple. It's a section of Indianapolis on the north side. They have an excellent selection of books here. They have space here that you can rent for special occasions. And it's a neat autumn day today. And the election is on Tuesday.
Yes, sir. For Democrats on Wednesday.
No, it's for everybody. This is, everybody should get out to vote here. It's city and county offices.
No, it's not county. Just city.
Well, since Unigov,
okay.
It's local offices, and there's city offices also up for election in like Lawrence and Speedway and Beech Grove, and so Tuesday is the election. And Angel Rivera is our guest. Angel, do you want to give our viewers your contact information for campaign?
Sure. The website is www.riveraforcouncil. That's R-I-V-E-R-A, and 4 is F-O-R, not the number. And you can email me at .com, riveraforcouncil.com, and you can email me at riveraforcouncil@gmail.com, and that gets to my BlackBerry, which is always on me. So email anytime that is convenient at your service.
And Hal, I was asking a question about how we can reach out more to the Latino community and increase education, better educate people about their experience and ease the transition.
Sure, and I think you alluded in the previous segment that it's kind of a two-way issue. I mean, we need to help Anglos be not necessarily accepting, but understanding of what's going on, and help Latinos also. And as you pointed out off the camera, we've had many other immigrant waves before, right? If you look at a birth certificate in Southern Illinois in the 1800s, a lot of them were in German. Yeah. There's a lot of stories in World War I when the German POWs were captured, and the units from Wisconsin were singing songs with the captured soldiers of German because they were German Americans too. Many first generation or early second generation spoke the language. But I think a few things are going to happen. First, we do need to encourage all immigrants, but we're talking about Latinos here, to learn English. It's important. Now, this idea that the moment they get here, they're supposed to be fluent in English. Oh, let's look at how hard it's been for Americans who have enjoyed,
who are native born.
Who are native born here to learn a second language.
Yeah. No, to learn their first language.
Struggle with that. I mean, we spend as a society something like $600 billion a year, $12,000 per pupil in the United States on K-12 education. And we struggle to teach a second language, and as you pointed out, our numbers on our first language are disappointing and maybe shameful. So, I mean, I learned 2 languages, but I have a thick accent in the second one, so we can debate how great that worked out. But the point is, we need to encourage them, but it doesn't mean that we suddenly reject everything in Spanish, right? I mean, I have a buddy who's trying to bring his mom here. She's a U.S. citizen. She always lived in South Florida and Puerto Rico. Her English is good enough to buy groceries, but she's a little intimidated by taking the driving exam in English. She knows that stop means stop. She knows that 35 miles per hour is the speed limit. But and those kinds of things, I think we make ourselves a disservice when we think everybody needs to be this super fluent the moment they arrive. But we need to be open about helping them learn English. We need to be open about understanding that their kids are U.S. citizens. They're educated here. They're going to work here. They're probably going to stay here. And they'll be good for us if we can get it to succeed here. Right? Look at the value that Indianapolis has from its German Americans, its Italian Americans, all those great communities that came in throughout the centuries that today are a big part of our city. And from the festivals to just the families and the importance they have to the politics and just the business here. So it's a two-way street. Immigrants need to learn English. That's the main language in the U.S. And having the language be split would not help anybody. But at the same token, we also need to understand that this isn't the first time we've had immigrants. America has a beautiful capacity to integrate them, to expand the melting pot. And a few years ago, Nacho started out selling hot dogs at a Major League Baseball games. So I think the melting pot is occurring because that means we're embracing each other's food. So we'll be okay. I think you're gonna see the merging of the cultures be successful.
I want to switch gears a bit. One of the things that you sponsored on the council was, it's often referred to as Super Bowl ordinance, though I know that's technically not the term. Tell us how that is going to work.
In a nutshell, the city has this punitive signage rules and zoning and variance rules that we could discuss for weeks. To open the Pandora's box of changing those is just politically a powder keg box that I really don't want to stick my neck in right now. It's just not. I'm not sure how to do better in the short term. But it was important to us to be able to not only maximize the revenue to the city during the Super Bowl, but most importantly, help the sponsors and the investors who are putting this event together maximize their revenue, their profit when they come here, right? I mean, we want these people to come here and to make a lot of money so they come back. You know, we want Indianapolis to be the place they think of when they want to put an event. And a lot of our rules were very strict upon them. So on the Super Bowl side, the main changes were that now they can put electronic billboards and some other signs. We're doing a lot of hanging signs from buildings. But to do that, they're going to have to let us know ahead of time. Obviously, they have to get the proper permission from the property owners, and they're going to have to pay a bond that is more than the cost of removing that sign. Or it's the cost of removing the sign, but at our prices, and government is not the least expensive service provider, as you know. So if they remove it on their own, they get their money back. If they don't, we already have the money here set aside to remove that sign. That way, when the event is done, we won't have a city littered with XYZ beer. Welcome here to Indianapolis for Super Bowl. So that was the main component Super Bowl wise. For everyday residents, it does two big things. One is it removes all city fees on events of 250 people or less, which before had a fee attached to them. So you have to have a block party and close your alley. You need to go to the city, get this permit, pay a fee. We remove the fee. And on events that are larger than that, it takes the fee structure and reduces the burden on the event organizer and increases the burden on the event vendors who are going to be there, as long as they're not vendors to that event. So an art fair, the art fair vendors, the artists don't have a fee, but the food vendor and the drink vendor would have a fee. And you might say, why are we feeding these people to death? And people also tell me, you just want to take our money. No, sir, taking $70 from you that does not make me happy or in any way more successful. The problem is it costs $16 million to operate all of the services that we're funding with fees, because we have something like, I can't remember the number, and I had it off the top of my head when we proposed the ordinance. We have, I think, something like 800 events in Indianapolis every year. And each one requires a plan for how we're going to get firefighters in and out of an emergency, how you're going to get ambulances in and out, how you're going to get police officers, how you're going to reroute traffic. And people want that, because when the stage crashes the state fair, we demand that our authorities be there within minutes to be able to provide help. And that's a good thing, but it also requires some planning. And if it was one event, it wouldn't matter. When it's 800, it takes people, and people cost money, and we move that burden from the taxpayer to the event organizer.
What was part of your ordinance ticket scalping?
Yes, it's a ticket broker permit. I'll be very short about it. Okay. People wanted to ban ticket scalping next to events. I actually like ticket scalping. I travel over the country. I like concerts. I like games. I like to show up in Tennessee when the Colts go play and see if I can find a couple of tickets in the street. You know, go to Nashville and go support my team, even if they lose. It's still my team. So I didn't want to completely ban it, but I also realized that big events, high-profile events, lead to a lot of counterfeit tickets. So we want to make sure we have some kind of authority to just check that they're selling real merchandise. Because if the guy has a fake ticket and leaves, you have no way of knowing who he is. So the easiest way was we're going to have a small ticket kind of badge they're going to wear, and they're going to have to just pass a background check that says that they don't have a conviction for forgery or for fraud, this kind of thing.
Sure.
If the guy's arrested for smoking a joint 20 years ago, that doesn't mean he can't sell tickets. But if the guy makes fake tickets, we're not going to allow that.
Actually, if he smoked a joint 20 years ago and he's scalping tickets for, the fish tour, that's probably showing that he's pretty good at it. And in terms of scalping tickets, when the Reds have sucked for different years, I'm a Cubs fan. We could go down to Cincinnati and get really excellent seats cheap.
Yeah. So and they put some rules. During the Final Four, people were trying to sell tickets in the glass doors of Conseco Field House. So people were trying to walk in. They were being kind of flanked on both sides by brokers. And all the organizers, the Indianapolis Sports Corporation, said, "Hey, we want these guys out." And I said, let's find a compromise. So it's the part that I dislike the most about the ordinance, because it's the part that adds regulation rather than relaxing it. And I hate to do that, but I'd rather be the one trying to broker the compromise myself than let people actually want to ban them, take over. So I took the lead on that.
One question I've asked, I think every candidate we've had on here. Have you ridden the bus in this city?
Yes, sir.
I mean, have you ridden it? What did you think of the service you had?
The bus trip was fine. The problem is the fact that the buses run so sparsely.
Infrequently.
Yeah, it makes it very inconvenient, and that's a terrible reality of our current bus system, which is just not very good.
Well, because when we've got, you're talking about we're wanting to promote Indianapolis, so when people are thinking, where do I want to have my event? And I want to have it here in Indianapolis, and we've got the Super Bowl coming in. We've got a bunch of people who work in the hotels and the restaurants who are making lower incomes. I mean, those aren't jobs that pay a lot of money. And it costs money to buy a car, it costs money to pay for insurance, and it costs money to park down there, because that can be expensive. Where do we provide money, and how do we improve our transit system here so those folks can get down there? I mean, it's not just a question of taking the bus down there.
Sure.
It takes an hour down there. Those people have lives too, and they've got kids to get home to and stuff.
And there's a lot of questions in your questions. I'm going to try to address
Yeah,
them.
sorry about
The
that.
first one is, we have a lot of hotels near the event. So it's still a great argument that in Indianapolis you can host events downtown successfully without having a great transit system to move people to the event, right? So, I mean, when Miami had their Super Bowl, you had to pretty much rent a private shuttle because their stadium is so far out of where you would want to stay. So, I mean, this idea that we can't host the events on a bus system, we do it all the time successfully. Now, to your second point of the workers who don't earn the wage, there's two problems with that, two arguments to that. The first one is, if we build a transit system for the argument or for the sake of just moving lower wage earners into a lot of the downtown jobs, we could do that a lot cheaper. I mean, we'd rather subsidize their small car. Literally, the cost versus building a good transit system is still cheaper, because the $2 billion we're talking about to get a transit system here, there's more effective ways and less cost of doing that.
Sure, I lived in Chicago, and everybody took the bus.
Absolutely, and if your property taxes here were $10,000 for a small home like in Chicago, I'll be the best bus system in the nation. And the next day when I get kicked out of office, because your property taxes are going crazy, right?
Yeah, but see, that's
Mark is for more taxes. He likes taxes.
Well, it's not that I like taxes. I think that
one of those.
taxes are the price that we pay for a civilized society. I mean, that's just what we have, and I understand arguments against taxation, but there are certain things that we benefit by having the society provide for things.
And we're going to open the door, I think, to a bigger debate on this in spring if the legislature authorizes it. I'll tell you what my concerns are and what I think about this. First, we need to have an adequate bus system. Does it need to be the best in the world? No, but it should be adequate. The fact that when I live in Bloomington, I can take the bus every day comfortably, and I live in India, I can't do that. I think that stinks. We can do better. Secondly, the answer does not necessarily mean taxes and a rail system. The answer could really be, let's look at what other cities are doing. A lot of cities run their bus systems at a much lower cost per mile and per bus than we do. So there's something to be said for, can we do it better?
Say larger cities?
Larger and smaller. Many of them are bringing in, there's a lot of transit experts. Many cities are outsourcing it, more and more are outsourcing it. Everything should be on the
A
table.
lot of that because of Indianapolis has a low population density. We're spread out. Chicago.
And I'm sorry, but we're getting right towards the end of the segment. This has been interesting. And Hal, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.
Take
Best
care.
of luck in the
Thank
election.
you.